Well, we're seeing some cracks in the solid GOP support for Donald Trump beginning to appear as more Republican senators and presidential campaign challengers are starting to criticize, a little tentatively, his handling of classified documents. Some candidates, like Mike Pence, Tim Scott, and Nikki Haley, are criticizing the prosecution and still starting very tentatively, as I say, taking issue with how defense documents were apparently stored at Mar-a-Lago with those graphic photographs we saw in the indictment. Nikki Haley is now saying Mr. Trump was reckless, but at the same time, she's speaking in favor of a potential pardon for him if he's convicted.
I think it would be terrible for the country to have a former president in prison for years because of a documents case. That's something you see in a third world country. I saw that at the United Nations, so I would be inclined in favor of a pardon.
From the start, Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson have been the most critical. And joining me now is Republican presidential candidate Asa Hutchinson, the former Arkansas governor, congressman, and former federal prosecutor. Welcome very much, Governor. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Andrew.
Well, you have not hesitated. So what is your reaction to Nikki Haley saying that she would pardon him, already saying she would pardon him?
Well, it surprises me. The pardon power of the president is so important to our justice system, but it's always considered generally after a conviction or whenever the elements of justice require it. It shouldn't be a part of a political campaign. That's the most important thing. It's simply wrong to be discussing a pardon whenever we really have not gotten the facts out. And so that's not something that I think it should be discussed. I'm certainly opposed to it in part of the campaign for president.
Chris Christie was on Fox News today and giving his reaction to some of what the other Republican challengers have been saying, criticizing the prosecution.
I don't think that most Republicans support the conduct that's detailed in that indictment. It's reckless, it's harmful to American national security, and it doesn't show the kind of judgment that you need to be an effective president.
What's your reaction to that? Because in the polls, at least, it shows that Republicans as a whole, 61% or more, are solidly behind the president, criticizing the Justice Department and the prosecutor.
Well, former President Trump has a powerful voice. He's using that, and people are following that. So we need to have other leaders that step up and make it clear that these are very serious allegations, that the Republican Party doesn't tolerate misuse of classified information. We take these allegations seriously. Obviously, he's entitled to presumption of innocence, but don't undermine the criminal justice system and the importance of what's happening here in the equal application of the law. This is going to be a difficult 18 months that's ahead of us between now and the election. We don't even know whether this is going to be resolved before then. And so there's going to have to be a lot of patience. But I'm running for president because I think we need to have a commander-in-chief that protects the highest secrets of our land and doesn't treat them cavalierly. I'm glad that there's more Republican leaders that are speaking out now and saying this is serious, and I hope that they continue to do that.
Most of them, of course, are not running for president. Most of them are now in the Senate and certainly not in the House. But as this field has expanded with more people jumping in, does that just help renominate and ultimately potentially reelect Donald Trump? Should, you and the others who are against Donald Trump, should you decide on who a prime challenger should be? And so those of you not polling well, drop out of the race.
Well, if you picked a prime challenger right now, then all the energy of Donald Trump will be focused on that one. I think it's very important that the voters in Iowa and New Hampshire have a voice, as well as we move down to South Carolina. So let's let the voters dictate who's going to be the Republican nominee. I don't think it's going to be Donald Trump. And I think the fact that there's more candidates getting into the race right now demonstrate they see an opportunity and that we need to have new leadership in our party. Over time, this will narrow. It's going to narrow through the voters, but also there'll be self-evaluation. And if candidates aren't moving forward, I think that there will be changes in that alignment so that there will be the kind of competition that we need in the primary and alternatives to Donald Trump and somebody that can really take on Joe Biden and bring in independents and suburban voters. And that's the test. Right now, Donald Trump's not going to be able to win in a November election. and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So I think that's going to be the debate. We're right in the mix of this, and looking forward to the campaign.
Does someone have to, someone like Ron DeSantis, who is the only, right now, in the polling at least, the only credible challenger who might be able to narrow the gap, but has not at all criticized him for his handling of these classified records? Does someone have to challenge DeSantis on these very issues that were the core of republicanism for most of the Republican Party's existence? National security, strong defense, keeping national secrets.
Every candidate is going to have to speak out on this. And this will be part of the debate that I'm looking forward to. And so we don't know where President Trump will be at that time, but you're going to have a lot of great voices in that debate. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be talking about the importance of our national security.
Can you get on the debate stage? That's a pretty high bar in terms of polling at be 1% plus 40,000 individual donors.
Well, sure, it's a challenge. We've made the threshold for the polling, but everybody can go to asa2024.com. Okay. And, of course, that helps us get on the debate stage. Even $1 helps us. And so we'll make it. We've got till August to do it, but we're working hard to get there. And it's important for the candidates to be on that debate stage to showcase that there's more than the Trump indictment that ought to be covered in this. It ought to be about the challenges that the folks in New Hampshire is having with the cost of heating oil, inflation, and higher interest rates.
To that point, we are told that the Trump people feel a success yesterday because at least he was able to, overshadow all of the rest of you. Well, nobody's talking about anything but him.
Well, that's true, and I hope that you don't have to get indicted in order to get news coverage, and I know that that's not the case, but we're anxious for the debate because there's so many important issues, and that's why I've said Donald Trump ought to step aside. I understand he's not going to do that, but if you value the discussion of the issues, if you value the presidency and our country, let's not get sidetracked for the next 18 months on the defense of a significant criminal case that is going to ensnarl the candidates in a side issue that is not helpful to the voters in looking at the future of our country.